Alright, hello there, welcome back to another wee bit different video. Today's video, we're getting back into NBA Weekly, talk about some things that have happened the past week, including all the bombshells of the news that have been released. Granted, because the draft is today and you're seeing, and this is coming out in the morning, I'm probably gonna have a follow-up NBA video talking about some of the draft night trades, if there is any. The reason why I'm posting this today, though, just in case there isn't, you guys can still see my thoughts and my reaction to all of the news that has happened. Now, first things first, let's get straight into it. Marcus Smart is headed to the Grizzlies. Kristaps Porzingis is headed to the Celtics. Celtics get 2 first-round picks. Grizzlies get Marcus Smart, and I believe that's it. I should have pulled up the full details beforehand, to be honest with you. But the Wizards get the 35th pick from the Celtics, and they get Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, and one more player. Who the hell was it? But yeah, it's pretty wild, all things considered. Wizards have Tyus Jones as a point guard, Monte Morris, Delon Wright, and Chris Paul at the moment. And they have the 8th pick. So right now they're loaded up on point guard. I should have had, okay, here it is. Kristaps Porzingis, 25th pick, future Golden State first pick to Boston. Memphis gets Marcus Smart. Washington gets Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and 35th pick. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, Wizards are definitely blowing things up, obviously, trading Bradley Beal. And Kristaps Porzingis, I believe, had a player option, so he could have just opted out, and the Wizards could have walked away with nothing. But this way, they can say, okay, we'll get something out of him, and they did get Tyus Jones and a 35th pick. So it's definitely not the end of the world. In reality, though, the Grizzlies haul being just Marcus Smart, but for 2 first-round picks, that's really a lot to pay. And they give up Tyus Jones, definitely a lot to pay. But with John Morant being out the first 25 games, they're being very aggressive. And I can understand it because you're in the West. It's very stacked. Every team feels like they're going to compete, excluding 1 or 2. But there's just a lot of question marks surrounding how they're going to play. But adding Marcus Smart helps so much because, for one, what he does in terms of leadership and what he brings on the table, just in terms of mentality, bringing heart and soul to your team, huge. And the Grizzlies obviously need that after the whole Dylan Brooks thing. But also on the flip side, we talk about what Celtics got. Having Kristaps Porzingis is fucking huge. You have someone who can shoot from everywhere, and if you have Al Horford in the game as a 5, then goddamn, let's be honest, dude. There's literally shooters everywhere. So you have Kristaps now. You still have Jaylen Brown, who at this point, let's be honest, they're committed to keeping. Jason Tatum, obviously being the star. They can definitely start Derek White in place of Marcus Smart, or Malcolm Brogdon in place of Marcus Smart. The thing that sucks though for the Celtics is that they could have had Kristaps for instead of losing Marcus Smart. They could have given a Brogdon, but the Clippers backed out of the deal, and they said, dude, Brogdon, we're concerned with his injuries, or not entirely sure what, but it did have to do with injuries. So the Celtics backed out. Boston said, okay, we still have to land Kristaps. Like, that's still got to be a thing. So they ended up going through with it. Good for them. Good for Boston fans, but I'm sure it really hurts losing Marcus Smart, just in terms of what he's done for the franchise for 9 years. He's given everything. The dude has bled green. He doesn't even bleed red blood at this point. Like, I saw a comment on Reddit saying he doesn't bleed red blood. Like, he bleeds green. And you know what, dude? He's one of those guys to where he has just given everything to that franchise. It sucks to see him go, especially for those fans, because they definitely love him. But Grizzlies looking forward to a change of pace in their culture and a change of pace in their attitude. Not that Marcus Smart can fix everything, but it's definitely a huge asset moving forward. And again, I can't stress enough, Celtics are just going to be dangerous. Kristaps Porzingis averages 20 plus points per game. Somebody who's just, 7 feet, 7'1", some crazy ass shit like that. Like, he adds so much versatility to the team. It's freaking crazy. And it's just ultimately another scoring option. Granted, Marcus Smart was a great defender, but I would say it's worth it for what they got in return. I mean, again, 2 first-round picks also to go with it. It's not even about keeping necessarily those first-round picks. It's just trade assets too. Like, you're really just getting a lot of trade assets, which is really great, really awesome. The Wizards ended up getting, again, the 35th pick, and then Tyus Jones, Daniel Gallinari, Mac Muscala. I think Tyus Jones they can flip, and I think the pick they keep. So right now they really have Tyus Jones to flip for something and Chris Paul to flip for something. Even if they do keep Tyus Jones, they still probably will flip Chris Paul, if not buy him out entirely. Because there's just no point in having Chris Paul in the Wizards. They're clearly just going to rebuild, and that's definitely the way to go about it. I mean, you look at that team, and I've said it time and time again on NBA Weekly, like there's just nothing. There's just nothing to work with. That is not a team that can compete. And again, I talked about it in my Bradley Beal video recently. Better to just rip off the Band-Aid instead of just pretending like it's gonna, work out, because it was never gonna work out. They were never gonna win a championship. They were never gonna make a deep run in the playoffs with that team. Just not enough. Kyle Kuzma obviously being a free agent, like, oof, not looking good. Not looking good for the Wizards. So we'll see where Kyle Kuzma goes. That's gonna be very interesting. He's definitely gonna get paid. Definitely gonna get paid. Question is by whom? Gonna be a sought out target in free agency. Chris Middleton, in other news, declined his player option, presumably. So he would have gotten paid 40 mil, and so a lot of people are like, whoa, 40 mil, why would he decline that? Presumably he's looking to get a 4-year deal. It doesn't have to be at 40 mil, it can be at 30 mil per year, but it's longevity and security on his future, right? Because if he gets 40 mil deal this year, who knows what happens the years after, if he'll even get paid as much as he could get paid now while also securing his future. So really, it's more being smart with how he's managing his money moving forward. He's not the youngest of players at this point in his career. It's not going to hurt to get one last big contract, and that's what he's able to do by just declining that player option. And I'd assume that he sticks around with the Bucks, right? I can't imagine he'd go anywhere else. I don't even think he would gauge other interests from teams. But who knows? Maybe he does. But the Bucks definitely have to pay him. Let's be honest. The Bucks aren't going to want to pay him for 4 years, 30 mil plus a year. But they have to. Him declining definitely was not ideal for the Bucks. But they have to. They have a squad that they feel like they would win a championship on. Obviously, you have Giannis. Obviously, you have Drew. So it's going to be crucial to keeping Chris. That championship core right there that won them the title, they need Chris Middleton back. Because if for whatever reason, hypothetically speaking, Chris Middleton did end up leaving, that would hurt the Bucks so much. So fucking much. That would be really wild. But so much news has been dropping. On a side note, talking about the draft, Brandon Miller is now supposed to go number 2 instead of Scoot Henderson, which I think is pretty wild. A lot of people have been talking about Brandon Miller over the past couple months. Personally, I always looked at Scoot like a surefire number 2 leading up to this. But again, with the past couple months happening and people talking about Brandon Miller a lot, and then the noise of, oh, this guy could really be number 2. And then look where we are now. He on bookies by Sportsbooks is listed as a minus 425 in odds to be drafted number 2, which is basically a surefire thing. Minus 425 when it comes to drafts, but you never know. Anything can still happen leading up to the moment. But as of right now, it's looking like we got Wemby going 1, obviously. Brandon Miller going 2 to Charlotte. Number 3 is a big question mark because, yes, Scoot is going to go number 3, but will it be the Blazers picking him, or will the Blazers trade their pick like they said they would, or like reports have said they would, to help out Damian Lillard? So I don't know. You really have a lot to think about. I mean, if the Blazers definitely trade the pick, if they do end up trading the pick, I'm curious as to who would make that move upward, to draft Scoot, because I think Scoot is a phenomenal talent. You watch the guy play, and his athleticism is no joke. He drives with such ferocity, dude, and it's crazy. This dude is a freaking athlete on a whole nother level. Big question though is his jumper, which in today's game is definitely a big question. Like, that's not ideal. I saw somewhere on Reddit, I don't know if this is true, that he shot 35% from mid-range. I can't fact check that for you guys. I did read it on there. It got a lot of upvotes, but I don't know if that's true. But if it is true, that's definitely not good. 35% for mid-range is definitely not good at all. So yeah, a lot of things to think about in the NBA. What other moves our team's gonna make. Personally, the impact that I think this has, going back to the Kristaps Porzingis trade, I think that this is the correct gamble by the Celtics. It feels like they've reached their ceiling with that team, with the players that they had. Something had to change. Adding Kristaps, I think, definitely helps anyway. But Marcus Smart was the heart and soul of that team. He really, really was. So, I mean, you're gonna need to see more from Joe Mazzulla. You really do. You're going to see some more consistency from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, especially too. The whole team as a whole just needs to be really locked in. But it's going to be crazy to see how that unfolds. But while John Morant's out for the 25 games, I expect the Grizzlies to stay above 500, if not at 500. If they're below 500 after 25 games, I actually would be really shocked, because they still have Jaren Jackson, still have Desmond Bane, still have Steven Adams. Brandon Clark will probably be out even by the start of the season. But still, you got players that you should definitely be able to work with, and a head coach who knows how to get the best out of his players even when John Morant is out. So adding Marcus Smart to that fold, I think they should definitely be 500 or better by after those 25 games. So when John Morant does return, they won't be left, in a terrible situation. It'll be doable for sure. Now, I don't think they'll be like top 5 seeds or anything, but again, around 500. It shouldn't be below it, to be honest with you. It should be around 500. Wizards, on the other hand, their roster is gonna be god awful. It's gonna be god awful, but they're gonna tank for the next talent. I haven't looked too much at the next draft class. Like, no one has obviously gotten as much hype as Wemby, because even at this point last year, everyone was like, oh, Wembanyama. But Wizards, I'm not sure who they're in line for next year. Even if they get a top 3 pick, I'm not really sure on the prospects. But it's about time, man. It's time for a reset. It really had to be done. You got to pull the fucking Band-Aid. You got to stop thinking that this is enough, because it's not enough. So now that you're out of Bradley Beal's contract, now that you don't have to deal with, Kristaps Porzingis and Kuzma and all these other players, like, you're just going to have to deal with young players. Draft hopefully really, really good. And you're going to have to get some luck in the lottery moving forward for the next handful of years. It's going to be a rough time. And as a Laker fan, I understand that losing sucks, because when we had the second pick 3 years in a row, was it 3 years in a row? Because we got we got D'Angelo, B.I., and Lonzo. It wasn't 3 years in a row, was it? Fuck, I don't know, but it might have been 3 years in a row. It was a rough stretch, that's for goddamn sure. But yeah, losing is never easy. Ultimately, though, this is a crazy time in the NBA. A lot of moves are being made, and it's changing everything. Really, it really is. It's changing absolutely everything. So we'll see what happens. Is Brandon Miller the correct pick at number 2? Honestly, I'm not sure. I haven't seen a whole lot of Brandon Miller. I've seen a lot of Scoot Henderson. I haven't seen a whole lot of Brandon Miller, so I don't want to make that claim that one's better than the other, because it'd be unfair. It'd be borderline stupid of me to say anything, because I haven't seen enough of Brandon Miller. So I would be talking out of my ass, and that's not something I want to do on here. But I'm looking forward to draft night tonight. Or for me, it's not tonight. I'm recording this at 12:15 a.m. so you guys can see this in the morning. But draft night is the 22nd. Oh, speaking of which, it's my mom's birthday. She won't watch this video, but happy birthday to my mom. She definitely makes this channel able to happen, which is really dope. I wouldn't be able to be in the situation of recording NBA Weeklies or recording any videos without her help. It's been fucking awesome. So thank you, Mom. Happy birthday. If you do watch this video, just know your son loves you, even though we don't always get along. But anyway, back to NBA Weekly. I look forward to seeing what happens and seeing what unfolds in draft night. Also, just trades and free agency. It's going to be awesome. I didn't think that this much would happen already, but it's happening. And I'm excited. And as a Laker fan, I don't know what the fuck's going on, because all these teams are making moves except ours. Fuck. But anyway, as always, appreciate you guys for watching. This is All We've Been Different. And we out.